In 2017, I was diagnosed with endometrial cancer. And so I was like, I gotta live my life. I gotta live my life to the fullest.
It's literally just putting out things that you think are beautiful, that please you and please others. And then as you do that, if a thing happens somewhere in the future, that's great. And if it doesn't, then what you're achieving is waking up every morning and seeing something that you made last night that makes you like joyous to get out of bed.
And if they're day ones, you're always going to cater to them. If they show themselves, let them be known, man.
Yeah.
The possibilities can open up.
Exactly.
I guess I started thinking about like all these different random ideas that I had in my head that I would regret not trying out. And so I just started going for things, like started the YouTube and tried out lettering, tried out art prints or the wall prints on Etsy.
At first, I had more of a one-man band kind of mentality. To me, I think that wasn't as scalable, and I understood that from a business standpoint. So I learned to, let's say, trust my business partner, Thomas, for example.
When we interview people, we ask them, what are your dreams? What do you want to do? What are your goals? And how can we help you reach that?
It's really nice to have that community where people just come together, listen to your stories, support each other. And it's like, wow, I've been working really hard and I'm way behind. And then you have stress, but then you finish it and it's like, cool, it's another day. Why was I stressed out for?
To me, there's just so much that I don't know. Just try to keep learning. Just try to be inspired.
It's, a balance, right? I can't be perfect all the time. And so I need to get over that, get over the hump, and just post something.
So thank you guys for listening to the last episode of the season. For today, I have my guest, Danielle. And Danielle, for you guys who don't know, she's my roommate. She's a listener of my podcast and a fan, hopefully. Mm-hmm. And I'll have her introduce herself first.
Hi, everyone. I'm Danielle. As Kevin mentioned, we are roommates here in Hayward. We met back in college. We're both in the engineering program in Cal Poly, and we've maintained our friendship ever since. And I really enjoy listening to all of his episodes. Yes. I like to give feedback where I can, and I'm just excited to be able to participate in the season 1 finale.
Yeah, and what she's going to do today is help with the AMA. She's going to ask me the questions that you guys asked, and I'm going to answer it, and she's going to be able to also add her input and what she thought from the episode as an audience. But first, as you can see, this is a new setup. I actually moved to Danielle's home, somewhere in Hayward. I won't say the address, but this is a dedicated space now. I'm really happy that I got to have a room for my podcast, for my videography, and this is separate from just using the living room, which was what I was doing back in Fremont. And so I'm really excited. This is what is going to be like for season 2 and on. So to get started, what I wanted to do was just reflect on the last 10 guests that I had. Shout outs to all my guests who let me share their story. Shout outs to Steph, Amy, Dixon, Mandy, Dean, Ashley, Van, Ian, Amanda, Dov, and Karen. Some of these people I just met for that first day, and it was cool. Everyone's super cool. If you guys haven't heard the episode yet, go listen to it. What we're going to do is just talk about all these interviews and just reflect on what the common themes were, what the key takeaways were, and it should be fun. Before we start, I would like to ask you guys to help support the podcast. I ask this in every episode, but to reiterate, the best way to support the podcast is to rate and review on Apple Podcasts or iTunes. It's really important to do that because it allows my podcast to reach other people. What's great is that if you review on Apple Podcasts, people can see what you've gotten from the podcast, and they know what kind of content they're going to listen to. Other ways are to share an episode on Instagram and any social media and just talk about what you got out of it, and feel free to tag me. I will repost it. Another way is to share the episode with someone. So if there's something that someone can get a lot of value from, please share it with your friends, your family, whoever you think will get any value. Definitely subscribe to my YouTube. For those of you guys that don't know, I have the YouTube podcast. It's a video podcast as well. It's on my YouTube channel, so check that out. And please give me some feedback. I think that I always want to improve, and I always want to continuously iterate on this podcast, on my videos. So please give me feedback, good or bad. And I'm looking forward to hear it. I guess the first section that I wanted to do was talk about the common themes that I had for all the last 10 guests that we had. What I found were that even though people were doing different things, they had like different projects, different hobbies, different passion projects, different jobs. There are some commonalities. And one thing that really came up was community. And this is the same thing that came up from like the last 10, or I guess the first 10 people. No matter what you're doing, I feel like you should always be part of a community. I think if you're trying to do something all by yourself, you're not going to be able to improve. You're not going to get support. And you sometimes need help, whether it's like support system from like just your friends and family or people that are doing the same thing. I don't know. Have you, Danielle, like worked on anything where, actually we call you D-Mug, so I'm just going to call you D-Mug.
Okay.
Have you done anything where you notice like, oh, it's a lot easier when working with a team or with a group? Because I know you dance.
Yeah.
And so like, how did you, what were your experiences with community?
Yeah, definitely when it comes to dance, in my previous experience, you know, you can be an individual leader of a team, but it's a lot more effective when you have a group of leaders. And so, you know, each individual leader has their own strengths that they can contribute, and they usually have their own vision and their own style. And so you get a much more well-rounded scope of everything instead of just having kind of like a narrow vision and a narrow perspective or like a single-sided approach. So it really helps when you have other people there to give you the tips, and not only the support, but also, you know, you as an individual, you're making something on your own, and it could be done maybe more efficiently, or you could reach your audience more effectively. And that's definitely where the community comes in, and it can help you out like, big time.
Yeah, I think when it comes to any artwork, you can have your own ideas, have your own style, but when you learn from other people and you kind of exchange ideas, I feel like it really allows you to grow as a person, grow as an artist, and you can create a lot more with these new ideas, collaborating with people, and even just supporting each other and like, oh yeah, you're doing something great, or maybe you should change this up.
Yeah, like it keeps you grounded to have that other perspective, someone else telling you, oh, have you thought about maybe doing this way or that way? Because sometimes it's like easy when you're just, you know, the only person calling the shots to think like, I think this is the only way to do it. But that's never usually the case. There are so many different ways to get to your end goal, and it's good to have that feedback from other people.
Yeah. And what's interesting was that there were people that I didn't know had a community within their area. So like Mandy, who was one of my guests, she was doing makeup, and she has a lot of friends and other fellow makeup artists that she works with, that she's connected to help her work on projects together for photo shoots, for weddings and all of that. And even Van is Embrace Less Waste. So she's kind of like an influencer, right? She's trying to convince people that, hey, doing living your life with less waste is a lot more beneficial for you, especially your wallet. And like sometimes she doesn't know how to handle these certain situations. Like she just got a dog when we had our episode, and then so she's trying to learn how to embrace less waste, basically, with having a dog. And I think she has a community that kind of helps her, guide her to solve certain problems that she doesn't know.
Yeah.
So it's really cool.
I remember her mentioning that it was like a potty pad type of thing that she was like, she learned about, and then it was the less waste version, you know, than the traditional potty pad for dogs. But then when it came to like how realistic is it to be able to use this on a daily basis, and I think that's where like getting that input from other people to say, oh, you know, this might not be the best daily thing, but you can use it in this way to at least help minimize your waste.
Yeah. And what people don't realize with like, at least for wasting less, I think you can't go from 0 to 100. And so Van was a great example of like, she's in the process of trying to learn and trying to slowly go to zero waste. ideally, that would be possible for her. She even admitted that like it wasn't 100% possible for her lifestyle. And so what people hopefully realize is that like you can incrementally get to a certain point where you're wasting a lot less, and you can go from like using, paper plates, plastic utensils every single time for every single meal. I'm sure people do that, to like at least just using something more reusable, even like a reusable straw.
Yeah.
So, and those aren't that expensive, I think, and you're saving a lot of money that way.
Yeah.
So I think that like when people help each other, like going back to community, when people kind of help each other, support each other, give each other ideas on how to improve, it's really beneficial for everyone. And it's the back and forth for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Another common theme that I found was not like people, whatever they're doing, whether it's like videography, music, acting, they have this mentality of making sure that they don't stop learning. What I really liked about that was, there's some people who are really good in their craft, and there's some people who are still starting out. No matter what level, they all want to learn, at least from the guests that I've talked to so far. And it just goes to show that like, if you don't have this huge ego when you're like doing your craft, you're actually going to improve every time, because you're taking in all these like feedback, all the criticism and stuff, and like applying what you think is useful, and then applying it to your work. And you can see the improvement as people, for people who are taking these feedback to heart, they're improving on their craft, and you can see it every time they release a new video, or they release a new music or anything like that. So I really like that. Everyone's super humble. So.
Yeah. And it's really cool, because when you're first making that transition into exploring this creative space that might be new to you, I think like the rate at which you can learn is so fast. Like for you personally, the number of videos you started producing, it like really skyrocketed, and within less than a year you were already like really experienced, because you took it upon yourself to learn as much as you could, not only from videos online, but like from your peers or other people in the community. And so you're able to really just take off that way. And then like as maybe your knowledge in this creative space gets more and more, you still get to learn like the little details and the small differences that really impact and influence the work that you produce.
Actually with the last episode before this one with Karen, like I kind of thought I knew how to do certain types of videos, but she really taught me how to approach certain projects. And like whenever I go to do a video project, I don't really think too much about like, okay, what do I need to do? Who are my clients? Like be more conscious about who the client are and what I have to do for the client and what they'll enjoy. And especially from that last episode, like talking to her as well as Dean, because they're both videographers, photographers, they really pay attention to what the client used to have in their, what kind of content they had before, and like what they're really interested in. Because if you're doing like a lot of slow-mo and stuff, or maybe like a workout video or something like that, it's not going to work out, right? Or for a Nike video, Nike videos are pretty like fast-paced and like a lot of action and stuff. So that kind of gave me a better mindset of like, okay, I need to be more open and like continuously look at these clients and say, okay, I know I have my style, but what do they want, and how can I apply my flavors into what style they like? And so I really like that.
I feel like that's the point at which you can definitely declare like you've really grasped the concept of something, when you know how to create something to cater to your customer and still maintain like your unique style and have your flavor in there. I think that's when you're like, oh, I got it.
Yeah, especially if they're paying for it. I think if they're paying for it, they better like it. And you have to be open to doing something, creating something that they enjoy, or else it's not going to work out. And then you're just gonna break that relationship, that clientele relationship. So do you have anything else to add about that, about constantly learning?
I think that, no matter what you're doing, it's like most beneficial just for you mentally, for anyone mentally, to be constantly learning. It doesn't have to be in a professional setting. I think that just like, you know, the school of life is always going to teach you something, or you just figure out how to work with different challenges and learn from them. And yeah, I think that your guests have definitely done that very well. And so have you.
Thank you. Another one that I really think was really important is when you're doing something creative, or you're just even working your full-time job, a lot of people don't take breaks. They don't take vacation. And people like Amy and Dixon, Ashley, Karen, Steph, they talked about rest. And they talk about taking a break, especially if you're in a creative block, because if you're just staring at your problem for so long, you're just going to get worse and worse. And one thing that I think is really important was that you have to rest and do something that's totally different from what you're doing now. So, for example, Steph, I remember her saying when she needs to take a break from her artwork, from photography, she'll just hang out with people or go outdoors. And that's really important. Like, I'm always in front of the computer.
Yeah.
Even for my full-time job, like I'm in front of the computer, and then I edit. I'm in front of the computer. I'm like staring at a screen from like 9 a.m. to like midnight.
Yeah.
You know, almost nonstop, except for like dinner, working out, or whatever. So it's kind of bad, and I definitely have burnt out before. So I mean I need to get more, I guess, little hobbies or interests where I can go outdoors or stay away from the screen, put down my phone and all of that.
Yeah, just like kind of forcing that change of scenery definitely has a huge impact, which is why there were like studies, right, that said, you know, your mind can only concentrate probably in front of a screen for like X number of minutes, and then you should set a timer and then like force yourself to totally get up, do something else for like 5 to 7 minutes, and then you can go back and actually focus for another chunk of time and be most effective.
That's like the Pomodoro like idea, right? I think there's a timer. You put it for like 25 minutes, you work, and then after that 25 minutes you take a break for 5 minutes, and then you come back. And like there are a lot of different ideas around that. Even just staring at the screen, after you stare at it for a long time, like look away for several seconds, so your eyes don't get strained, and then go back to it. So I mean, it goes back to like there's a lot of ways that you can take a break, and you should take it. Right?
Definitely. It's that balance that you have to create. I think that's what your guests did a good job like emphasizing too. It's you know, you as much as you're passionate about this specific creative space, like you need something to balance it out so you can continue like putting energy and effort towards this creativity.
Yeah. And even just like taking a walk, right? Or like you hike too. I'm sure when you hike you kind of wander and you think of new ideas or something like that, and that's actually helpful, right? Doing something different, and like for some reason these ideas just come at you and you're like, oh, I could do this. I mean, I get ideas while I'm driving, which is bad. I don't know. I don't know if that's a good
that
thing.
happens to me too. Usually I'm like, or I realize, oh, wait, I had this work, you know, thing I'm trying to debug. And then like suddenly this idea comes to me while I'm just sitting in traffic. Like, why didn't I try that? Yeah. So take breaks, guys. Like, don't burn yourself out. Don't be like me. I've learned a lot from burning out. It's not fun. Take vacation. And yeah, like it will benefit you in the long run for sure. Okay. The next thing that I really thought was really common among some of these guests was that when you're creating art, you know, you don't have to just copy, like fully rip off from people that you learn from, especially your like inspiration. I think you should add your own flavor, be raw, be vulnerable, like add your own story. It makes you, it makes your artwork special, and you would enjoy it more because you're adding your own like feelings, your own emotions, your own ideas into your artwork. So, you know, people like Amanda, Dov, Amy, Dixon, Ashley, like they're adding what they want to put on paper or on a video or in their music to the world. And that's pretty amazing. And that's what I try to do. Like I try to help share stories that I care about and not worry about what the cool topic is. Like
you know,
Yeah.
the very popular topic that everyone's talking about right now. So
Yeah, definitely. I think like you just need to, you know, have your work be a reflection of who you are, not just a one faceted like side of who you are, but the big picture you want to incorporate and show that in your work. Definitely.
yeah, and for the guests that don't know, like Danielle and I danced in college. We did like choreography, urban dance, and you choreographed, you know, for a year, and it was cool because I could tell that anytime you choreographed a piece, it was kind of like your piece. Like you had your own style, you had your flavor.
Yeah, a lot of hair flipping and
A lot-
stuff.
yeah.
And a lot of sass. Uh-huh.
And those were fun. Like we could tell that, you know, this is you. We could tell that this is what you enjoy choreographing to, and you weren't just like ripping off from someone because that was the cool move of the day or of the year. So I think a lot of people they should be okay with like saying, okay, I'm gonna add my flavors, my colors, even like I know Ashley, she like likes to have bold, vibrant colors, and like sometimes they're different from what people typically assume these colors would be for a specific object or whatever that she's painting, and she just adds her flavor, and I really like that. So
Yeah, and then on top of that too, she has like, you can really see her style, but then sometimes she'll step out of her style and do something a little bit different too, to show that, you know, she doesn't have like just one style. She's also multifaceted and has different ways to represent her creativity.
yeah, and your style definitely like changes as you're learning from other people, right? Because at least for my videos, I had my core style of like, I like cinematic slow-mos and stuff like that, but learning from other YouTubers, from other videographers, I'm starting to pick up little, you know, cool transitions that I think are cool, or different views, different like ways I can look at a particular object that I'm looking at, and different angles. And so, you know, my style is constantly changing, but I still add like what I want to do. And I think that's what everyone should be doing, especially if they're creating something for themselves. That's like, you want to know that this is your artwork and you're not just fully ripping off like Peter McKinnon or something. That's a videographer that I follow a lot, and he has this style that his vlogging style is very like energetic, and like I'm not an energetic guy, you know this. I mean, I can be energetic when I want to, but I can't be like Peter McKinnon. I'll show you a video. Like, he's super out there, and I think that's why he's very popular. He's just very fun to watch. It looks like he's really talking to you and always excited. And yeah, like if people are just gonna follow him, like it's gonna be fake, you know. Like, you don't want to be fake. You want to be true to yourself and true to the audience, whoever you're creating for. So yeah, I thought that was a really big one, because I always looked at, what are the secret success, like what are the secrets to people's success, and if I just try to mimic them, I won't feel right. Like, I definitely feel a little like off-putting. I don't know how to say it, but it's just, I know it's not me, and I know I can't keep up that character for so long. Yeah, it would burn me out.
Yeah, it's like not an equation to figure out per se. It's really what's your unique recipe, and that lets you be genuine and true to yourself.
Yeah, just like you know, if you're making cuisine, there are different ways to make it. You can add your own ingredients or something like that.
Yeah, that's true. You should do a cooking episode next.
Oh, definitely.
That'll be your next AMA. You can like answer questions as you're cooking.
I'm gonna be cooking like frozen food, just microwaving it or something like that, or baking. I can't cook.
You can do it if you try.
That's
I have
true.
faith in you.
Thank you. Okay, I think one more that I really liked, that was pretty common within a lot of the guests, was that if you're interested in something, just try it out. Like, don't worry about failure. And people like Mandy, Amanda, they did this thing where they weren't sure what they enjoyed. So for example, Mandy was studying business, and then she said, you know, I really like makeup as a hobby, but I'm not really into business, but should I try to pursue makeup as a full-time job? She took that leap and then became a makeup artist full-time. She studied makeup. I forgot what school it was, but she studied it and then became a freelance makeup artist. And that's pretty amazing. And then Ashley was a landscape architecture student. And after she did that, she decided she didn't want to do it, so she became a graphic designer, and then she started doing art. And what I thought was cool was that like, and shout out to my brother, he did this too. Whatever you studied doesn't have to be what you're doing as a career forever. Like you can use it as a starting point, but once you realize that you enjoy something else, like go ahead and try it out. Like you don't have to like just jump the gun right away, but like try it out as a hobby, try it out as a side business if you can make money. And like, who knows, like you can do well, you might not do well, and that's fine. Just stop. I think a lot of people are kind of afraid of failure, and it's not something you should be afraid of, because failure actually just tells you whether, okay, this is not my thing, or it's like, oh, I'm not doing so well, but I'm still interested, let me learn more. And that's what I think a lot of people can benefit from, just having that kind of mindset.
Yeah, definitely. Similar to like how you just started this podcast, anyone could be deterred and, I don't know, scared, like, oh, I don't really know what I'm doing, so I'm not even going to try. I think that's a very common mindset to have, especially because, we see so many people on social media, they seem so successful and it seems like it comes so easy to them.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
It's like, actually, really, any step that you take, whether, gets you closer or further away, it's like a step in the right direction. You got to try, and don't be afraid to try, really. So yeah, good job for trying.
Oh, thank you. I mean, for the audience that don't know, you also do wedding planning.
Yeah.
And you just started that as well. And starting that with Fatima and Randy. And you guys are just trying it out, like seeing if you really enjoy it, and starting out with friends, and that's really cool. Like start small, it's fine. And then you expand from there if you're starting to be interested. So I really commend people who are just trying things out, whether even it's just like a hobby, right? Like if I want to try cross stitching, or I want to try like skateboarding or whatever, like just do it. You don't have to invest too much money and time to it. Just try it out, see if you like it, and then keep going if you like it or not. Or keep going if you like it. If not, then feel free to stop. Don't feel bad. I think that's one thing. Just don't feel bad if you stop. It's not, you're not a failure in that case. So.
Trying is always like a successful thing to do in general.
Agreed. So the key takeaways, which is kind of different from the common themes around these guests, these key takeaways were things that I really felt were really important from all my guests. And again, these are common themes between several guests, but I thought these were the big ones. And the first one was really about there are bigger reasons why people are taking risks. So this just goes back to like, oh, try something out or whatever. But there's a chance where some people enjoy what they're doing so much that they're leaving their full-time job to do what they're passionate about, or what they think they're passionate about. Examples are like Dean and Karen, Amy and Dixon, Mandy. These people left their full-time job, whether it was slowly or just like right away, and started what they're really passionate about as a full-time job. One thing that I liked about Dean was that he was very confident in his skill. I don't meet a lot of people like that, and it's really cool, because every time I asked him, I was like, and you'll see in the episode, like, oh, were you afraid of, like not doing well, about failing? He was like, I'm really confident about my skill, about what I can do, and I just went for it. And I really like that. Like it's very rare to get that confidence, and even I don't have that confidence. So there's like this, bigger power that's like making people do things. And for Karen, it was cancer. Which is, I don't wish that upon anybody to experience before they decide to do something. But that was huge. And like, I give her props for like obviously learning from that experience and being like, fuck it. I'm gonna just do whatever I want now. Like I'm gonna live my life as I want it. So shout outs to everyone who kind of jumped the gun, or like jumped to the next step that's something different from what they studied and stuff like that, because these bigger reasons could be something that's good, like Dean, he's just like very confident, or something that like kind of like tragic. And this goes back to like even Kristen Nguyen, right? She had a family member pass away, and then for Karen it was cancer. obviously we don't want that to happen to anyone, but these things kind of push them. And like it didn't surprise me too much, but it was just like, okay, I do see why people are really interested and are going head on into these things. Yeah. The other thing that I really thought was really important was self-care, staying lighthearted, and then enjoying the process. So this is all revolving around the anti-hustle mindset. And you know, don't see it as like, if you're hustling, like that's bad. But a lot of people are approaching these new hobbies, the job that they're doing, in a more lighthearted way. And I think self-care is important in that aspect, because when it comes to doing something like, you know, going all into like a new hobby or new project, like you have to take care of yourself or else you're going to burn out. I feel like if you're not enjoying the process, you're only worrying about the end goal. You're not going to enjoy yourself. Like, and then once you reach that end goal, you're like not as happy or something like that. And I think that one surprised me, because I always thought about like, okay, I need to, you know, get this many followers or get this many likes. And then I realized I should just enjoy like the conversations I'm having with people, with the guests, meeting new people. And that has nothing to do with likes, followers, subscribers.
Yeah. I think it's so easy to equate success with these specific measures that we either like make up for ourselves, or it's based on comparing ourselves to other people, you know, like the whatever number of likes or however many views. But it's, you know, once you reach that goal, then you're just going to be searching for like the next step up and the next step up. And really what it's about, like you and your guests have said, is really just, you know, make the most of the process, you know, what you're learning, what you're creating, how you're growing in general. That's what really matters. And
exactly how you said it, you didn't say anything about comparing yourself to others, right? And that's what I think people are doing sometimes when they're working on a new project or a side business. They're comparing themselves to other people, comparing their followers, their likes to other people's like Instagrams, whatever. And it creates this competition mindset. And I think that's not good. You should compete against yourself. And that's the only person you should like compare yourself to, because you always want to improve. But when you start to see people as competition, that destroys the idea of community, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And community is huge, as we said. And if you're going against that mindset, you're never going to make friends. No one's going to want to work with you, basically.
Yeah.
And you're not going to get clients or anything like that, just because I feel like people can see right through you sometimes. Like they know if you're a genuine person. They know if you're the person that like just wants to be on the top and like doesn't care about anyone below them, quote unquote, below them. Yeah. So I think, that people have to watch out for that, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. You definitely want to like create your community and use your community to your advantage to help build up everyone as a whole, so that this specific field is just getting better and better. You don't want to be too competitive where you're putting other people down just to make yourself look better, because that doesn't do anything to advance, you know, what you're pursuing.
So one thing that I really thought was interesting was the love-hate relationship with social media. And so I talked to people about like, oh, social media is great because you get to connect with people, you have audiences from around the world, like Ashley. But then there's that aspect of like, you're just so ingrained, like your mind is so focused on social media, again, with the likes, with the follows, that like is very toxic. And like sometimes you release something and not many people like it. And it's like, you forget that you're making something for yourself. And so I think there's that balance of social media where it's like, use it to connect with people, use it to share your content if you need to, whether it's like a photo, video, whatever. And like sometimes you just gotta let it go, let it, like what Ian said, I think he said like it's its own being. Like once you create something, just let it go, let it live and do its thing. And like if people like it, they'll vibe with it, and they'll follow you and stuff like that, but don't worry too much about it. And I think that's super important. I'm still trying to get that balance. I'm still trying to focus on that balance because, you know, if you want more people to watch your videos, listen to your podcast, you kind of need to look at the numbers. But it's like, you know, sometimes you just need to grow organically and just like let it go. And just improve based on what your core followers and supporters tell you. So
yeah, you do, like you said, you want to be keeping track of the numbers to a certain extent to understand, okay, what kind of appeals more. But it's, you know, like we mentioned earlier, you have to stay genuine and true to what your creativity and your perspective is, and just create to that. And then take in the feedback from your close followers, and then just kind of release and let it go, like you said.
And shout outs to all the people who listen to my podcast, who watch my videos. Obviously you, D-Mug, you're one of them. You know, I really appreciate everyone who's given me feedback, who's told me that they listen to these podcasts. If you haven't told me that you listen to podcasts and you like really want to provide me feedback, or just let me know that you're listening, like let me know, really. I am actually going to try to start this feedback session where I work with my core followers and just meet up in person. And then we just talk about, like, exchange ideas about what worked for you, what you enjoyed, what didn't work for you, and what you don't want to see anymore, basically. And so, you know, again, if you listen to my podcast, you watch my videos consistently, let me know. I'll hit you up later. And the last thing I think that's really important, which is a huge key takeaway, I think one of the biggest, is that even though you have a hobby, even though you have a side business, you have something that you're really interested in, doesn't mean you have to make it as a full-time job. And I always thought that you had to, because it's like, oh, that's your passion. That's like, you know, something that you should just go for because this is what you want to spend your whole day doing for the rest of your life. But there are enough people like Steph, who does her artwork on the side, and she does make money, but she doesn't make it a full-time, and she's okay with it, you know, for now. She's enjoying it, because I think for her, once you make it as a full-time business, the appeal might not be as great. And she might change her mind, but still, like, as of right now, she's not like doing that, and she's making art for herself mainly. And I think that's allowing her to do that and make money from her full-time to fund the projects that she wants to do for herself. So maybe sometimes for some people, if you spend, you know, all day every day focusing on your art, or this one thing that you're very passionate about, it can kind of lose its sparkle. And so it's good to have that balance of, you know, doing something outside of that, similar to how, like, when you're staring at a screen, you need to take a break to do something to change up the scenery. Like, that applies to anything and everything, whether it's work or you know, your passion. And I always wondered, like, whether it's ideal to have a full-time job that focuses on, like, one side of the brain, like the technical side, and your side hobby or whatever is more on the artistic side. Like, obviously I'm a software engineer, so I know a lot of software engineers, and we, you know, are staring at a screen working on programs, like writing software, writing code, and it's all logic. But then, like, I see a lot of people as a side hobby, they're cooking, they're taking photography, like they're doing photography, they're like doing all these kind of side hobbies that are not in front of a computer. At least they're going outdoors or something like that. And I thought that was really cool, because your mind just like takes a break. Half of your brain takes a break while the other half is like being active, and you're switching off. At first I thought that would be like something that would happen to me, where like I'm not burnt out from just staring at the screen too much, because I'm focusing on the artistic side and videos, and then like the technical side on my software engineering. But I think the fact that I'm staring at a screen all the time, like, kind of throws it off. So
Maybe it's like a little too confusing for your mind, because your mind is so used to seeing the screen and like relating it to work. And then you're like, wait, let me just try to switch gears. But you're physically in the same setting as
it's the same laptop too.
Yeah,
I feel like I need to do more outdoorsy stuff. I think that's one thing. Or like now that when I travel, I don't bring my camera out even, because sometimes when I'm like going somewhere, I'll want to get like the best shot, for that area. And it's like, I don't really bring my camera anywhere. I try to put my phone down. And ever since I had my episode with Steph, she was saying like, just put your phone down. Like when you're talking to someone, you don't need to like look at your phone or check Instagram. Like you're talking to someone, be present. And I was like, okay, I think I'm gonna do that now. Like, like every when I'm eating with someone or something, like I try not to bring my phone out. I think that's really changed. So thank you, Steph. Thank you everyone who suggested that. Like it's really helped.
Yeah. Not only does it help you, but I think that it helps the other person that you're interacting with. Like they feel like they're more worth your time if you're going to give 100% of your focus, and how you make the other person feel in the conversation, speaks volumes about your character. So good job. I'm glad you made that transition.
Well, it's really hard. I'll admit, like I sometimes see other people like looking at their phones. I'm like, so I'm so like tempted to bring out my phone, but it's something that I'm still trying to work on, and I really encourage other people to do. It really changes how you interact with people. I'm starting to notice that for sure.
And sorry, I looked at my phone earlier. My husband was trying to video call me, but I think that's because he's drunk.
It's all good. It was his birthday recently. Happy dirty 30, Aaron. If you're listening.
Hope you're having fun in SF, which I'm sure he is.
Cool. So I think those, we reflected a lot about the past 10 guests. I think we're ready to go to the questions that some of my followers asked, and we got a good amount. So I'll have you ask the question, and then I'll answer, have my input, and then definitely like add your input. Like as an audience, it's a great way to get that perspective, because sometimes I don't know what the audience is thinking. So it'll be great.
Here you are reaching out to your community. Good job.
It's the first step.
Okay, so as you mentioned, we have a good amount of questions here. The first one is from the Demiurge.
Shout out David.
Hey David. So he just asked, why did you start the podcast?
So the podcast was something that I wasn't really interested in at the time, because it required me to speak, and it required me to be in front of the camera if I were to do a video podcast. But back then I did this interview series called Project Identity, where I was interviewing someone, and then I would get like B-roll shots of them doing their craft, whether it's cooking, doing artwork, whatever. And I'll admit, like doing it as a side hobby, doing that part-time was forcing me to take weeks to release. Like it required me to shoot the interview and then find another day, if I couldn't do it that day, to shoot them doing their craft, and then just edit and put things together. And that took a while, like with color grading, audio and stuff. And so I was like, okay, what is an easier way for me to share my guest stories and in a faster way, so I can just churn out more. And I'm not saying that like I want a lower quality way to do it, but I wanted to be able to share more people's stories. Like it took me so long to do it, and I just wanted to share it more. And I think this podcast has really helped. I've shared 20 guest stories, and it's pretty amazing. Like, and I love meeting new people, and it's like a really good conversation every time. So I think the podcast is a great medium for now. And it shows their character. I think that's one big thing, like puts a face to it, as well as like their character and how they talk, and how you see the passion that that when they're talking about what they're doing. And it's just raw. Like I really like that. So
do you miss like getting to film them kind of in action, with their craft? I
do. I think as I'm doing this podcast, like there was a point where I was doing half podcast work and then half like event recaps and other interview stuff. And during these events, I would record them doing their craft. But it took a lot of time trying to release my podcast every week, and then I'm doing these other videos on the side. So I think halfway into my season, I stopped making other videos, and it kind of bums me out. So I'm trying to find a way to open up more time to actually like work on other videos outside of the podcast. And so I really miss that, and I want to continue doing it more.
Yeah, maybe you can somehow reach out to the community and see if other people are in the same boat as you, and then you guys could do some kind of collaboration.
Oh yeah,
to do that.
That would be great. Yeah, I definitely want to, like, I'm starting to meet a lot of videographers now, and I definitely want to like create like some sort of community, have everyone meet and kind of collaborate with each other. That's coming up. So
yeah. Oh, cool.
Yeah.
You can host it here. I give you permission.
Thank you.
Okay, so let's go on to the next question. There's actually a handful of questions from this follower of yours. This is from Christine Weenie. Her first question is, what traits do you find common amongst the creative people you've interviewed?
Shout outs, Christine. Thank you for this question. I think what I really saw from these guests was that they were very enthusiastic about what they were talking about. So whatever they were doing, and I kind of like picked these people because I knew they were into their craft. They were very enthusiastic about why they were doing what they're doing. So, for example, like Amy and Dixon, they were already into like the animation and like telling a story aspect, and what they're creating, which is like an animated short that they're building themselves. They created the story, the animation, and all of that with a team, obviously, but their team. They're very passionate, and like you can, anytime you talk to them about like how their process is and like why they're doing it, you can see that they really want to share their story. They enjoy working with the people that they work with, and it's really great to see their passion, and it sparks joy seeing them joyful.
Yeah.
So it's really cool.
Yeah, that's how it is. It's like happiness is contagious. When you show people, you know, how excited you are about this one subject matter, and like you get to talk to them about it, people really feed off that energy and they learn from it, and then they in turn will do something that they can be as passionate and energetic about too. Yeah.
So it's kind of just feeding off energy.
Yeah.
Yep.
Very cool. Okay, so the next question that Christine Weenie asked is, what things have you found that are different between your guests?
Yeah, this just goes back to like some of these people took their hobby and made it into a full-time, and some kept it as a side hobby or a side hustle, whatever. I still couldn't really find like a real reason why people should take it full-time or not, unless it was like some big event. Again, it goes back to like Karen, Kristen, they had like a tragic or like some life-changing event where like someone like Dean, he just said, I'm not happy at my full-time, I'm just gonna pursue this other thing, fuck it. So it was really interesting seeing people's like motivations. Sometimes the motivation wasn't strong enough, some were, and sometimes that small motivation like allowed them to just take that leap. So it was interesting, and I'm still trying to find that common like reason, but it's probably not going to happen.
Yeah, each person is different, and like what constitutes, this is enough evidence for me to make this big change in my life. True. And some people don't even care to look at what evidence is there, I'm just going to do it. So
for sure,
it's really up to you and your personality, but whatever choice you make, it'll be good. Okay, so the last question from Christine is, what do you most look forward to in season 2?
Just interviewing more people. I really wanted to interview a lot more people for season 1. The reason I'm ending this season is because I'm just tired. It takes a toll. Like, I'll be honest. When I started this podcast, I spent each day just like looking forward to the Wednesday of the release, and like, 21 episodes were released. That means 21 weeks passed by, and like it just went by so quickly, and like I haven't had time to really sit back and like enjoy what I've done so far and reflect on it. So this podcast is one reason I'm doing it, and then Thanksgiving is coming up and Christmas. I just want to take a break, spend time with family, and not worry about the podcast. So I think when season 2 starts, I want to just like interview the people that I didn't get to interview yet, and then just meet more people. I think it's going to be exciting, and it will allow me to interview people that my previous guests refer
Mm-hmm.
and vet. So I'm excited for that. Just meeting new people and just learning from them.
Yeah, I think the timing of how you kind of, you're wrapping up season 1 and then you just get to, like you said, reflect and spend time with your family. I think that's like the perfect, I guess, time of the year to be doing the reflection, because, you know, what better time than, first of all, you're not going to be working as much as normal. And then you get to be surrounded by the people that you love and the ones that support you as well. So I think those are just like good vibes all around to help you get the most of what you've done.
Yeah.
So, is season 2 also going to be another 21 episodes?
I haven't figured that out yet. Like,
okay.
I really haven't thought about it yet. I think once I end this season, during the Thanksgiving and Christmas break, I'm going to really think about like how I want to approach season 2 and the podcast as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see.
Okay. So the next question is from Sincerely Sunshine Cat. She asked, after doing season 1, what's your big takeaway for running a podcast to help with season 2?
Good question. I think the biggest takeaway was like just stick with being myself. I think the feedback that I got from my guests was that like even though there are cameras like pointing at them, like if we just have a conversation and don't try to make it so like animated or anything like that, it allows them to kind of relax. And I hope all my guests feel that way, but most of them said that they did. And I think what was really great is that with the podcast setting, it's us talking, us going back and forth, and it's not just a camera pointing at them and I'm just interviewing them and all of that. So I think just continuing that candid conversation, just like being raw, being vulnerable, and not expecting too much out of them. I'm going to stick it with that. Like, I don't want them to like think too much and like be so like anxious about having this being a guest for the podcast.
Yeah, it's not like a huge production. It's let's sit down and have a conversation and just talk about our perspectives, things that we've learned, and whatever you want to share.
Exactly.
I think it really works. It helps, when it sounds more natural, that's for sure. And then your audience can relate to it a lot more.
Yeah. That's the goal.
Okay. The next question is from Raisu. He asked, how have your interviews impacted your outlook in life?
So I learned a lot from all my guests. I think the 3 big ones were consistently being lighthearted with like everything that's going on. Because there were definitely times where I would just be so stressed, so anxious. If I didn't release on time or if I was being close to a deadline, like I would be just nervous. I should just like kind of take things more lightly because it actually affects me physically, not just mentally. Like I start getting sick. I don't know, my body feels sore. Like, I don't know, it just like, it's terrible. So I just need to be more carefree about it. I think that's one thing. And I got that from a lot of the guests, like Dov was especially one of them. His whole album is called Lighthearted. and you can tell like in each song, he was just having fun. And like, even though this is like a big project for them, him and Josh and Rob, his producers, like they were just having fun. And like, I want to continue doing that. I want to start doing that and continue doing it like in the foreseeable future and not be too serious about it. So that's one of them. I think enjoying the process is really important because if I just think about the end goal, like everything is just going to be a blur and I'm going to regret that for sure. Like 6 months is going to go by and I'm like, what the hell just happened?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the important one. And again, it's okay to rest. I think a lot of my guests said that, and that's why I'm ending this season. I just need a break. Like there's so much that is put into this podcast, and I want to kind of go back and think about like, how can I improve this? But I can't think about that too much if I'm continuously releasing every week. So yeah, those are big takeaways after interviewing all these people. Yeah, and I'm learning a lot. I hope a lot of people are actually.
Yeah, I think that's a really good summary, and it makes me personally more excited to see like what you've got coming up for season 2, because all of these things combined is just like making you a better person and a better podcaster too. So
Yeah, appreciate it.
we know it's only going up from here.
Yeah.
Next question is from Alley Cat. She asked, what are you most proud of from your season 1 podcast?
I think the fact that I started the podcast, I was able to allow more people to share their story. And I think that's just one thing to be proud of. Like, that's the easiest thing to be proud of. I don't care too much that, like, well, I do care, but like, I do care that I released, you know, X amount of episodes for the season consistently. But I think what I care most is that I was able to help people share their story. A lot of these people don't do video, they don't do podcasts, and they just release on social media. And this is just another medium for them to share it and tell their story. And you can see the process of how they got from where they started from to where they are now. That's huge. And the biggest thing about this podcast is that no one is like super huge yet. And, well, you know, you can define huge as like any way you want, but people are still in their process of doing what they're doing. So I think allowing people to share their story as they are now is more relatable to the listeners than like someone like who's already very well known, very popular, famous, whatever. So I think that one was one of my biggest like reasons for doing this podcast. And I think hopefully I really met that expectation.
Yeah, I definitely think that you did. And like the whole idea of providing this opportunity to share your guests' experiences and their passions, like I heard so many great golden nuggets from all these people that I never heard about before. And it was really, you know, inspiring, whether it was something that was very relatable because they haven't like gone out and reached, you know, nationwide success and fame yet. It makes them more relatable now. Or if they went through an experience that I personally haven't experienced, like Karen with cancer, I like appreciate that. I remember her quote that her friend told her was, your story can help unlock someone else's prison. Yeah. And so just, you know, even if you haven't gone through the same exact experiences, just hearing their story really does have an impact on your life and helps influence the decisions that you make going forward.
Yeah, I really like that you brought it to Karen because, you know, she has this experience that a lot of people don't want to talk about, like having cancer, especially if you like fought through it. Like sometimes it's just not something that you want to share to a lot of people, especially to the public. And the fact that Karen is willing to share her story is like very strong of her. Like shout outs to Karen. I'm glad she was my last guest, you know, for the season. I think a lot of people could benefit from hearing her story and hopefully like be more open to share their story as well. So that's the goal.
Yeah. Okay. Now let's go to the next question. This is from It's Miko. They asked, what tech are you using?
Okay. So for the podcast itself, the microphones are the Shure SM7Bs. I have an amplifier, which is the Cloud Lifter. And then the audio recorder is the Zoom H6. I chose these things because I followed a few podcasters that use the same equipment and they use it as their home equipment. So I just said, fuck it, I'll just do it. I invested in these because I didn't want to focus too much on the audio and worry about editing the audio and just focus more on the video. So it's been helpful. And I suggest these things if you want to, if you can afford like this equipment, I suggest investing in it.
Very cool. Sounds so fancy. Okay, let's
very expensive.
Yeah, looks like it too. Let's go to the next question. This is from Buena Cobro. He asked, who is your dream interviewee and someone dead or alive?
So I really thought about this for a while. And coincidentally, I was watching the Walt Disney Imagineer like show on Disney Plus, and just like watching the first episode, I noticed how much Walt Disney like put a lot of effort into creating Disneyland. He put so much money into it. He had to pull out like a loan for it as well, and he pretty much risked it all to like create Disneyland, especially with people who kind of like criticize him and said like this is not gonna do well. Like during his grand opening, like it was a total failure, but he still kept going. So I wanted to kind of know more about, like, if I were to interview him, I'd try to dig it into his like mindset and like, how did you get through this like obstacle of like people criticizing you? Because I'll admit I haven't had too much like criticism where it's like they're trying to attack me, and so he hit that in a huge scale. So I kind of want to just get into his mind and see like, how did he get through these obstacles? And yeah, it's really cool. And Robert Downey Jr. is another person I want to interview. As most of you guys know, he played Iron Man for Marvel for like over 10 years. It's crazy. And like his story is that as a child and throughout his early adult life, he like had a lot of drug abuse, and he finally picked himself up and around 2005, 2008, and then he did Iron Man. And like, I think it's just like a story where you started from the bottom, like you hit rock bottom with a lot of drug abuse, but he still like picked himself up and became what he is now. And a lot of people can learn from that, I think. And I could learn so much from him, and like just talk about his process and learn from it, because he I would say he's an inspiration to a lot of modern day people, you know, especially kids who who think that they've hit rock bottom and want to get out of it, but don't think they can, because a lot of people like pretty much shut them out. Mm-hmm. So shout outs to Robert Downey Jr. If you want to come to my podcast, come anytime.
You'll get your real life interview right then and
pretty
there.
much.
Yeah, that's a common thread that you have between Walt Disney and Robert Downey Jr. The whole idea of not necessarily just picking yourself up, but kind of battling that criticism. Yeah. Because these were two people who were very largely in the public eye. And whenever you're in the public eye, people are going to say whatever they want about you. Yeah. And so
it's hard. Yeah, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that would be very inspirational to hear you interview those people. The next question is from Hoho Mimi. The question is, what fears did you overcome to start your podcast, and how did you overcome it?
The biggest fear I had was just putting my voice out there and like being in front of the camera. When I started videography, I never thought I would be in front of the camera. Mm-hmm. And what's funny is that like I've only done videography for less than 3 years, and I'm already in front of the camera doing this podcast. And it's not something that I hoped for, because I really wanted to focus on the guests. But the idea of sharing people's stories faster in a better way overcame my fear of being in front of the camera and being in front of the microphone. And that's what really got me to do this podcast. Like, that drive to really share people's story was way bigger than my fear. And I think, you know, you don't always need that big of a drive to like go against your fears, but that was my specific experience with like, okay, I'll listen to my voice, get used to it, not hate it so much. Because if you guys really think about it, like the only person that hates your voice is yourself.
Yeah.
Right. Everyone else knows how you sound. Everyone knows how you look and stuff. So just like, you're the only one that has to get over it.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, I'll get over it and I'll just get used to it.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was my way of overcoming that fear for podcasting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's good. You just put yourself out there. That's, I think, the best way to challenge yourself.
Yeah.
And you have done a good job.
Thank you.
Okay, now this leads us to our very last question.
For the podcast
section. And this question is from Nick Winnery, and it is, any plans for season 2?
Yeah, so I did, allude to that like from the previous questions. Yes, season 2 is going to come. I haven't figured out exactly when, but it will happen early 2020. I just have to kind of sort things out and really try to figure out ways to improve this podcast and just start it up again. And I'm trying to make sure that I don't wait too long, because that will prevent me from really starting soon. So yeah, hopefully soon. Just look out for it on Instagram or YouTube or something.
I'm sure it won't be too long, because once you get to spend that time to to rest and then reflect also,
Yeah,
it's probably more inspiring than anything. So
for sure.
you'll get back to it.
Exactly.
Nice. Okay, so let's move on to some general questions. We have 3 questions actually from Merrick. The first one is, what have you learned from this journey so far?
A lot of things that I learned that I kind of knew from the beginning was that done is better than perfect, and it was reinforced by like people from like Ian. It was reinforced by Amanda. Basically, like doing this podcast, like I knew I would never get everything 100% correct, and this just goes back to like incrementally improving my podcast. I just had to start, and I know I started out with like the expensive gear and all of that, and like you don't have to start with that, you just have to start. And shout outs to like Marvin, Wes, and Michael for starting their podcast, Natural Nerd Brew. I'm a guest on one of their episodes, so check it out. Shout outs to them. Yeah, like just start. Like the content is key, I think, and once you slowly like figure out like, okay, I'm ready to invest in this, then you can start buying the gear and like start improving it. But don't let things stop you from starting. I think that's the biggest thing. And incrementally like improving is another important thing, because you don't want to stay in this small like area where you just started out. And that's why I needed this break, was to really get into a mindset of like, okay, what can I improve on? Have time to think about that, or else I'm just continuously releasing and not improving. So yeah, those were the key takeaways for sure.
Nice. So the second question is, would you say the journey's been a success, and what would you change?
I think it would definitely be a success where I was able to share people's stories fast enough. I think the turnaround time could have been a week, like interviewing someone the week before and then releasing it. I think I would say it's success for that. The only thing that I would change is like I wish I started out smaller. Like I didn't worry about the videos or anything like that, because it added a lot of pressure early on. And I was not only trying to figure out how to work with the audio, but I was trying to figure out how to work with the video and the lighting. And like, it was crazy. I remember my episode with Kevin Quach, episode 2, I was setting up my light, and this was like at a coffee shop where like the lighting was terrible at the conference room, and the light fell, and then the bulb broke. And I was like, holy shit, like I broke glass in a coffee shop. Like I had to clean it up, and I was so stressed out. And like that really made me realize like I should have started smaller. But yeah, that's something I would change, but because I started that way, it's like, okay, whatever, I'm going to continue on.
I think that's just a good like high bar that you set for yourself.
It's a huge bar.
I mean, that's how you grow though, right?
Yeah.
So you learn to roll with the punches, you learn to, set up your video cameras faster, and you figure out like how to do the editing a little bit faster too, right?
Yeah. I think setting that high bar is great. Also have smaller milestones to make sure that you've improved to that point, because like for example, if I had the audio, the video, the lighting, like I had it all set up, but then nothing was perfect or even close to perfect. So each milestone was like, okay, every episode I fixed the audio better, or I fixed the video better, I fixed the lighting. And that's like, hopefully every episode I'm either improving or I'm trying something new that like I think would improve. And sometimes you'll see me make mistakes or something, but it's because I'm trying out something new. And so I think that's, with that high bar, you have to like consistently try things out so that you can reach that high bar.
Yeah. You're just always learning.
Yeah, for sure.
That's good. The last question from Merrick is, if you could have changed it in a different way, what direction would you have taken everything?
Everything, not just the podcast. I probably would have started a team first, I guess, like trying to see who would be interested in helping me out with this thing, because I think doing it by myself was really stressful on me as well as my loved ones. It really took a toll on everything that happened in my life. And I wouldn't say like my time doing this podcast was like terrible, but there were times where like I was super anxious. I was so stressed out that like I couldn't, my health was deteriorating. I think that was huge. And I couldn't sleep. Like that's the thing. Wow. The lack of sleep really killed me. I would stay up until 2 a.m. and then wake up for work the next morning. And it's really tough. And I think like shout outs to people who have team members to help with their vision, like Empire in the Air. They're one example of like they have a core team that helps them with like social media, merchandising. Oh, they're a clothing company, by the way. Merchandising, social media, like business development and like events. And like I think having that team would really help me reach out to more people and spread the workload so that we can do more actually. So yeah, that's something that I would change.
Yeah. So did you think of starting a team like when you first came up with the idea of starting the podcast, or did it not really cross your mind?
The podcast, I didn't really think too much about starting a team. I figured I only needed one other person and to basically help with the video stuff. But I'm typically the type that is really I'm typically the type that likes to do things all by himself. But talking to like Dean, for example, he was a videographer. He did a lot of things all by himself, but then he created his film media company with his partner, Thomas. And then they have a lot of people under him where they can do a lot of things now. They can create a lot of videos in parallel. They can work with a lot of clients in parallel. And I think that's very beneficial. That's something I need to think about and try to figure out how I can improve my process with a team. So yeah.
Cool. We're excited for that.
Yeah.
The next general question is from Marja Kui. She asked, what's a goal you want to accomplish in 2020? This is perfect. When you end the season, you have that time to reflect and rest. This is what you can think about.
Yeah. I'll be honest, I haven't figured that out yet. I think I want to continue with the podcast, but I want to do more YouTube videos and Instagram videos. Like for some of you who know, I do Instagram stories where I do like kind of like day in the life of Kevin, where I just like do something like make coffee or whatever. I want to do more of those because I really have fun doing it, and people seem to enjoy it. So I don't know. It's something where I can continuously learn new things, where I don't have to worry about like, oh, I'm creating a 10-minute video. It's just like, here's a 1-minute, 2-minute video. I'm trying new transitions. If it sucks, it's gone after 24 hours in Instagram. So I want to do more of those. So I need to just find time. And hopefully in 2020, like I'll be able to prioritize things where I can decide, oh, I can fit this in. I cannot do this, whatever. So yeah.
Wow, lots of growth coming up.
Hopefully. Yeah.
All right, the next question is from Kristen Nguyen. She asked, what piece of advice have you heard but you're not open to, and why?
This is a hard question.
Yeah, that's a really good one.
I definitely thought about this. One advice that I got was from Van, Embrace Less Waste. She was like, try reusable filters for coffee. And she just suggested this like a couple days ago. And I was like, okay, I'm down to try it.
Yeah.
I tried the metal ones and I don't like it because the grounds kind of go through the filters. So I already know that's not good. So we'll see what other options there are. I'm willing to try it. I already know I kind of like paper and I don't have to deal with it.
I've seen the reusable cotton kind. So
I've seen that too. Some people don't like that already.
Really?
I kind of looked it up, and I've talked to people about it, but we'll see. I'm definitely willing to try it, but I'm not like, I'm not sure if I'm actually going to like it. So we'll see.
Well, if that one doesn't work out for you, you can find other ways to embrace less waste in your life.
Yeah. Shout out to bands.
Yeah.
Sorry.
But you'll try. That's all
try.
that matters. Yeah. Good job. Okay. The next question is from Brain Made. This question is, what is intentional living?
So, yeah, you guys might have heard about me mentioning intentional living and all of that, but not really explain it. I think to me, intentional living is living your life the way you want it to. I think that's like the core aspect of it. And this just goes to like what material things that you want, that you truly believe that will give you joy and value, to what are the things that you want to do, like your job, whatever hobbies that you want to do, and make sure that you don't do it because someone else wants you to do it. And then even to the point of like hanging out with the people you want to hang out, that give you joy, give you like allows you to learn and allows you to grow, versus like someone that's pushing you down. Intentional living is just like being in a mindset where everything that you do is to benefit yourself. And it sounds selfish in a way, but I think, like when you fly a plane, they tell you like, oh, if air pressure starts to drop, like, put on the mask for yourself first.
Yeah, before your child.
And like, you can't help others if you can't help yourself first.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to work on your mental health. You have to work on your like physical health and everything like that before you can help others.
Mm-hmm.
And so even financially. So I think that is what I think intentional living is.
Yeah, really aligning with the purpose.
Yeah.
And so I think that's good, because it makes whatever you end up doing so much more effective. Like you mentioned, you can start helping other people, and you'll be there like 100% for them, 100% present, and really be more effective in how you reach out.
Yeah. And part of it is like knowing your why. Like,
yes,
why do you want to do things that you want to do?
Mm-hmm.
Even just saying like, okay, pretend you can do whatever you want. Like, why would you want to do it? What do you want to do and why? And like, that will reinforce why you want to do a certain thing, whether it's a job or a hobby. And for me, is to help promote other people. Like, I love to do that. And that's why I'm doing this podcast. That's why I'm being in front of the camera. And it's not because I want to be in front of the camera and like be like a YouTube star or something. Like, I don't give a shit about being in front of the camera. I just want to share other people's stories. So
mm-hmm.
that's my why.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm in front of the camera. But
mm-hmm.
yeah, I think people should maybe ask themselves like, why am I doing this? Why am I not doing this?
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
Yeah, everyone should take the holiday season to rest and reflect with you.
Yeah.
And ask themselves these types of questions.
That'd be cool. Let me know what you guys think.
Yeah. The next question is from Karina Graham. She's a very strong follower. I think that she really appreciates your podcast.
Thank you.
The question is, regarding intentional living, could you give us a preview of what you want to share in the future?
Part of it is to take some of the other golden nuggets I got from the podcast and put it into a video, and trying to dig deeper into it. Like, tell my audience what I got out of it and what I hope that other people can get value from. So like, for example, taking a break. Like, I think that's such a simple thing that not a lot of people think about, and just creating a video about taking a break, resting and reflecting will allow people to do better in their job, in their hobbies, whatever. And creating a video around that, I think, will be very beneficial. Right now, I just do this podcast, and then I do like Twitter posts, but that's about it. Like, I want to do more around that. So
mm-hmm.
I think that will help bring more ideas out of my head and
mm-hmm.
into the videos. And yeah, I have so many ideas that I haven't been able to do yet. So yeah, that's kind of like a sneak peek.
Nice. You'll pretty much be like following up, like
Yes.
on the things that you've learned.
Exactly.
And then going, cool.
Because I don't want to just release these podcast episodes and then just let it go. Like,
Yeah.
I actually want, and that's why I do the reflections. Like, I want to talk about what we've learned from these people, and
Mm-hmm.
and not just like do it just for content, do it just
Yeah.
for like the number of episodes. Like, I want to actually talk about what we talked about in the episodes.
Mhm.
So
You want
I
to
think
apply it.
I want to apply
Yeah.
it. It's important.
That's awesome. Do you think that'll be some kind of video series, or like just a compilation video, or that's something you
That's
can
something
reflect on?
exactly. Yeah, I haven't figured that out yet, and we'll see what happens from what I figure out. So
Mhm.
yeah.
Cool. Looking forward to it. All right, this leads us to our last question from Bray's Boy. He asked, "What's next for Kevin Sutarji?"
Shout outs to Kevin, fellow Kevin from On One Studios. I think for me, I won't say too much yet because I still don't know what I want to do yet. But I think for me, I want to continue this podcast. I want to work on more videos that I enjoy, and kind of promote more people. I think, and these are the people that I truly believe in. So I'm not interviewing people just for the sake of interviewing people. Like, all the people that I interviewed, I actually believe in, and I actually enjoy their work, their craft, and I hope to showcase them more in a different way, and not just through that podcast episode, but in other ways. So be on the lookout for that.
Wow, that's exciting.
Yeah. Yeah. So thanks for asking all the questions.
Yes,
like
of
I think it's a
course.
lot easier to go back and forth with that, versus like just reading the question on my own and then answering them.
Yeah.
I just felt weird talking to myself.
Yeah, it's kind of nice to be able to ask you these questions too, because it's I mean, I wouldn't have thought of these questions, so
Yeah.
it's interesting to see what your responses are.
Yeah, I think when I have guests or when I have my audience ask questions, like there are a lot of questions that I wouldn't have thought about, especially for my guests. So it's really nice to get all of these, and so thank you to all my all the audience that asked questions. Like they were really great questions, made me really think about them. So cool. So that's it. Thank you all. If you've reached this far, I really appreciate it. Shout outs to Danielle D-Mug for being a guest and helping me with this episode. That's it. This is the last episode of the season. And before we end it, again, I just wanted to say, please support the podcast by rating and writing a review on Apple Podcasts. Share it with friends, family. Tell me which episode really resonated with you through social media. And, just feel free to give me feedback. Like, I love talking to my supporters, my followers, and, you never know. Like, I would love to start something with you guys, like create a more close-knit support group. And if you want to be a part of it, let me know. So thank you. Any final words?
Thank you, Kevin, for this opportunity. I'm glad I could ask you a bunch of questions, and I'll prepare for the next AMA for you.
All right. Thank you very much. All right. Thanks, guys.
Bye.